Okay, students, the previous class we discussed respiration. Respirations they have come across following the parts. What is the respirations? External respiration, internal respiration, respiratory tract, exchanges of gases and transportation of gases, the respiratory diseases we discussed previous class. Now we are going to discuss body fluids and circulation. What is the body fluids and circulations? Body fluids means blood. Blood is one places to the another places. Transportation. Blood is it body fluid. Body fluids means blood one places to the another places. Transportation. Transportation to the circulations. Circulations means transportation. Circulations means nothing but transportation. Transportation is some type of the things transport through the goods, lorries, buses, trains and rails. But in such way, the body fluids are circulations, some type of materials, different type of the materials, the distributions are different type of the materials, the transportation through different type of the body parts through the circulation. Different type of the materials means transportation, gases transportation, nutrition transportations, hormones transportation, next microbiome organisms and bacteriums, and next water, enzymes. So different type of the materials, excretory materials. So this type of the all materials transportation through the circulation. So transportation through the circulation. Circulation means blood. All types of the materials circulate and transportation through the blood. Blood is the circulatory system. Mainly circulatory systems, mainly blood. Blood is circulation through the heart. The heart is compulsory. The some of the invertebrates, the heart is absent. The heart is absent. Some different type of the materials circulate. A different type of the materials transportations through the diffusion from the body wall. Respiration, circulation, digestion. So this type of the systems, the diffusion through the body walls, the higher vertebrates. So higher vertebrates, all system is well developed. So in the fluids and circulations, in the fluids and circulations, first of all body fluids. The body fluids means bodies in our bodies. The fluids, blood, lymph, plasma, this type of the fluids in the circulations through the blood. So first of all, the body fluids and circulatory systems, the first of all lymphatic system. So lymphatic systems, what is the lymph? Already previous class we discussed lymph is the blood minus RBC. Blood minus RBC is equal to lymph. Blood minus RBC is equal to lymph. Lymph is containing the blood containing the all materials. Blood containing the composition of blood. Composition of blood do not explain. Do not explain because already we discussed the previous years. The first years already discussed composition of blood. What is the composition of blood in the plasma and blood cells, how many types of blood cells, they completely we discussed in the first years in zoology. But only blood is the blood minus RBC, only RBC, removal of RBC, remaining containing the blood, all materials containing the lymph. The lymphatic system, the lymphatic systems, this is also network like structures. Network like thick walled, the network like thick walled vessels, thick vessels. Network, the blind ends. So this is this type of the structures, the blind ends. So number of extracellular spaces in between the extracellular spaces. So this is the network structures, network like structures, thick walled blindly end. So blindly means this is the blind end. The blood vessels end to blind. And extracellular spaces, the high pressure of the blood in the the fluid filtration of liquid type of the filtrations into the extracellular spaces, the formation of lymph. Lymph is nothing but see the extracellular spaces. See the blood vessels. The blood vessels thick-walled blindly end. Thick-walled blindly end. The highly forceful pressure. The forceful pressure of the blood get enter into the filtrations into the these spaces. The fluid-like structures. The formation. This is called lymph. Lymph is the blood minus RBC. RBC is absent, remaining all materials containing the lymph. The lymphatic system. Lymphatic system is the network-like structures. Network. The left side and right side. The left side and right side is the network-like structures in our bodies, inside the bodies, in between the tissues or in between the tissues. So this is the blood vessels. This type of this is also blood vessels. The blood vessels, the thick walls, the blindly end. This blood vessels transportation through the blood. The blood is at force fluid, high pressures. Highly pressures in this blood vessels automatically they get into the filtrations. The fluids enter into the extracellular fluids, extracellular places. This fluids is called lymph. The formation of lymph. How is the formation of lymph? The formation of the lymph is the formations. The blood vessels, pressure on the blood vessels automatically filtered into the extracellular spaces or intracellular spaces. Extracellular spaces or intracellular spaces, fluid. The fluid-like substances in the formation. This is called lymph. Lymph containing the blood vessels, lymph containing the blood cells. Blood cells means so monocytes, lymphocytes, and RBC is absent, WBC is present, and low molecular weight of the materials, glucose, amino acids, fatty acids, and carbonates and bicarbonates, the plasma, this type of the materials containing the lymph. Lymph containing the different type of materials and nutrients, glucose, amino acids, fatty acids, carbonates, bicarbonates, and the chloride ions. Next, white blood cells. White blood cells means monocytes and lymphocytes. The monocytes and lymphocytes and some from the low molecular weight of the materials present in the lymph, and only absence in the lack of RBC. The lack of RBC in the lymph. The functions of lymph in the same functions in the circulatory functions. There are blood, the same functions in the blood functions. The blood is transportation of the gases, transportation of the nutrients, transportation of the excretory materials. The same functions of the lymph. Lymph is the mainly functions of transportation of gases, transportation of nutrients, transportation of excretions. One places to the another places, intracellular spaces to the extracellular spaces. The intracellular extracellular spaces force fluid pressure, the force fluid circulation of the blood. So if you immediately get entered the filtrations get enter into the small the empty spaces, the formations called lymph is formations. The lymphatic system, the lymph is how is the formation of lymph, functions of lymph in this regarding. The next, the clotting of blood. Next, clotting of blood when the ruptured injuries the blood vessels, so if injuries, whenever the injuries the blood vessels, the different type of the mechanisms, they closed the wound or injuries, so immediately closes the injuries, the different type of the mechanisms, the closes in the clotting of blood. So any injuries, the some persons any injuries accidentally, any mechanically injuries, so immediately, so how many minutes the clotting of the blood, the sneezing the blood within the 3 to 5 or 8 minutes completely clotting the blood. The sneezing of blood within the 3 to 5 minutes or 8 minutes. 3 to 5 or 8 minutes the clotting the blood. So the 3 to 5 or 8 minutes. The 3 to 5 minutes, mostly hardly 8 minutes last. So within the 3 to 5 or 8 minutes, any part of injuries, any blood vessels injuries, immediately, so different type of the mechanism, different type of the mechanisms closes the injuries part. Now this is the three regions, first in the three parts, they such a ways they come across. Vasoconstrictions. Vasoconstrictions means each type of blood vessels, whenever the blood vessels they injuries, immediately constrictions, immediately contraction of blood vessels, contraction of blood vessels, the thickness, the contraction of blood vessels thickness, immediately the slowly closes of the injuries part. Vasoconstrictions means blood vessels vascular part. The vascular part, whenever the injuries, immediately the contraction of the blood vessels, wall of the blood vessels, the thickness or tightness of the vascular wall, immediately the closes the injuries part first. Next, platelets plug formation. The platelet plug formations. So whenever the injuries the blood vessels or injuries the body parts, immediately platelets enter the platelets. This is the blood vessels, this part is injuries, immediately platelets enter into the this injury spot. In the injury spot, in the platelet plug, platelets plug is formation. The platelets, so in different type of number of platelets. So number of platelets in the healthy women is 2.5 to 4.5. The 4.5 lakhs platelets. The platelets, the number count increases or decreases. The platelets, the help of the platelets, whenever the injuries there is the bodies or blood vessels, immediately platelets enter into the injury spot. The plug is formation. Platelet plug is formations completely closes the injury spot. Next, production of fibrin protein. Production of fibrin proteins, the prothrombin and fibrin proteins productions. Production the fibrin proteins, the productions the clotting factors, the fibrinogen, fibrin prothrombins, fibrin proteins, fibrin and prothrombin, soluble fibrins. So this is the fibrin like structures and the solid thread like structures. Thread-like structures in the fibrins, first of all soluble fibrin fibers convert into the insoluble fibrins. So insoluble fibrous proteins in the protein-like structures, this is also platelet plug is formations. The one type of the net-like structure is formation is called production of fibrin proteins. The next, mechanism of clotting. Mechanism of blood clotting. So mechanism of blood clotting, 3 steps. The step 1, step 2, step 3. The step 1 is the prothrombin activators, the mediators. Step 1 is the mediators, the prothrombin activator mediate. The medium of step 1 is the medium of prothrombin activator. Prothrombin activator in step 1 is the 2 stages. First one is intrinsic pathway, extrinsic pathway. Intrinsic pathways. So intrinsic pathways, whenever the injuries to the blood vessels, whenever the injuries to the blood vessels are external blood vessels or internal blood vessels, whenever the injuries to the internal blood vessels, the injuries, immediately intrinsic pathways means prothrombin activator. Prothrombin activators in the medium of the 12th factors. The 12th factors means Hagman factors. Hagman factors in the prothrombin activation. Hagman factors they activate by the prothrombin activators. Prothrombin activators activate by the Hagman factors in the 12th factors. The 12th factor medium of 12th factors in the prothrombin activators, medium of prothrombin activators. The clotting factors totally 13 factors. The first one factor is fibrinogen, second factor is prothrombin, third one is thromboplastin, fourth one calcium ions, fifth one proaxillerine, and sixth one is absent. Sixth one is unknown. The sixth one factor is unknown factors cannot identified, and seventh factor is conversion. Fifth factors and seventh factors. One is doubt. One dot. You are one doubt because fifth factor and seventh factors. What is the sixth factors on doubt? The sixth factor is absent. Sixth factor is cannot present and cannot identify the clotting factors. So this fifth factors, then next, then after seventh factors, and seventh factor is a pro-converting. Eighth factor one is anti-hemophilic factors. Ninth factor is Christmas. Ninth factor is Christmas factors. The next, the 10th factor, 11th factor is the plasma thromboplastin Stewart factors. 10th is the Stewart. Another one is the Stewart factors. The 10th one is the Stewart factors. 11th one plasma thromboplastin. 12th factor is the Hagman factors. 13th factor is fibrin stabilizing factors. The total 13 factors. The Stewart factors. The Stewart factors in the 10th one, and this is the total 13 clotting factors in the help of the any injury spot or any wounds. Immediately the clotting, the blood immediately closes the injury spot. The step one is the intrinsic pathway. Intrinsic pathways, the internal blood vessels, the damages, so immediately releases the activation of the prothrombin activators in the medium of the 12th factors. The 12th factors, that one is 12th factor, Hagman factors. So Hagman factors, intrinsic pathways, so closes the injury spot. Next one is extrinsic pathway. Extrinsic pathway, the medium of the prothrombin, this one also prothrombin activation. Prothrombin activations medium of 7th factor. 7th factor means pro-converting. Pro-converting, this is also prothrombin activation. Prothrombin activations in the extrinsic. So external blood vessels or external blood vessels. So external blood vessels in the injuries, immediately contractions or contraction and fibrin fibers, and the contraction and the prothrombin activators, they convert prothrombin activators in the medium of 7th factors pro-convertin. So pro-convertin, so external blood vessels in the walls of the injuries. Next step 2, the step 2 conversion. Prothrombin converted to the thromboplastin. This step 2, prothrombin converted to the thromboplastin. Prothrombin converted to thromboplastin. Prothrombin, the second factors convert to the thromboplastin. Thromboplastin is converted. This step 2. This is also first step is the prothrombin activation. First of all, activation of the prothrombin. The next second step is activation of prothrombin convert to the thromboplastin. Thromboplastin, whenever the thromboplastin is converted, the next step 3, thromboplastin converted the fibrin fibers. Fibrin fibers means thromboplastins converted the insoluble fibrins. First of all, soluble fibrins. First of all, soluble fibrins converted the insoluble fibrins. First of all, the soluble fibrins and converted the insoluble fibrins. Insoluble fibrins, the plug. Insoluble fibrins in the plug means this type of the structure is formation, closes the injury spot finally. First of all, the mechanism of the clotting of blood. First of all, prothrombin activation, intrinsic path and extrinsic path. And next second step in the activation of prothrombin convert to the thromboplastin, and the thromboplastin convert the fibrinogen. Fibrinogen is the first of all soluble fibrinogens convert the insoluble fibrins, the fibrous. Insolubles, the strong fibrous is formation. The strong fibrous, it enter into the any place injuries, the part immediately reaches to the place. So immediately plug is formation, netless ducts formation completely closes the injury spot. This is the clotting mechanism. The clotting of blood, clotting of factors, clotting of factors in the clotting of blood, the three parts methods and mechanism of parts in the mechanism of blood, 3 steps, step 1, step 2, step 3 in this regarding the clotting of blood. The next class in the continuation, next session.